Welcome back to another episode of Chatlink. Today I have some news for you guys today for the gaming industry. So let's get into it. First off, we have World of Warcraft Shadowlands. World of Warcraft Shadowlands will now launch on November 23rd at 3 p.m. That is Pacific Standard Time. Announced via Twitter, Blizzard said the expansion is now in a much better state than it was being pushed back to the original October 26th release date in order to address widespread bugs and to tinker with the in-game progression. A Twitter image reads, "We've used the time to further polish the expansion and shore up the in-game, including overhauling the combat and rewards from within the mall, and reworking the Covenant systems to make your choice more immediately impactful and having a clearer long-term goals. With the launch date set, Blizzard is now able to confirm that the important dates, the pre-expansion launch event will begin on November 10th, and we'll see Azeroth invaded by a horde of undead. At the same time, the event will now feature optional bosses and ways to earn loot and help you get caught up and prepare for the Shadowlands release." Next up, we have Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War is just a few weeks away, and today Activision released a new trailer that explores many of the extra features PC players will enjoy, such as 4K resolution support, uncapped frame rate, ray trace shadows, DLSS, and ultra-wide multi-monitor support as well. And there's also an update to set of system requirements that actually lower than those recommended for the beta, which is great if your machine is just on the line of being able to play it. The trailer is pretty much what you expect from Call of Duty. There's some shooting, screaming, and lots of explosion, but it's cool to see that Activision has taken the PC version seriously, though the glimpse of the brief settings menu is particularly nice because it looks like you're you can compare the settings on the fly with the previous window. The new system requirements are equally as exciting, though the biggest change from the beta is the minimum specs now suggest a Intel Core i3 with a 8GB of RAM, while the recommended specs want at least i5 with 12GB of RAM. So we have news from Ubisoft. Far Cry 6, the upcoming trip to the fictional nation of Yara, has been delayed. Ubisoft announced that during the QT earnings report that the result of the COVID pandemic, it will be moved to the 21-22 year. The upcoming Rainbow Six spinoff, Rainbow Six Quarantine, has now been delayed to the same period. Far Cry 6 was originally set to come out on February 18th, 2021, while a solid date for Quarantine has yet to be announced and set. The new delay means that neither game is now expected to release until sometime after April 1st. April Fools. Go figure. Although Ubisoft said in the post-report earnings call that they are sometime in first half of the fiscal year, that is sometime between April 1st and September 30th. While we know that you are anxious to get your hands on Far Cry 6, a tweet reads from the official game account, "We want to let you know that we've been given more time to allow us to make this game you inspired to play while focusing on the well-being of our teams in the unprecedented global context." Next up, we have Destiny 2 Beyond Light. Earlier this week, Bungie dropped the new vid doc, running through the highlights of the upcoming Destiny 2 Beyond Light expansion, and also this season of The Hunt. Today it's time for a more cinematic take on things, courtesy the Beyond Light launch trailer, which, in fine Destiny fashion, features booming music, narration, and a frozen threat to humanity that only a team of Guardians can stop. Speaking of the music, it seems that having previously favored the Beatles in the form of Paul McCartney penned the poem Hope for the Future, I think that's what it was called, Destiny has now fully turned to the dark side, an ominous orchestrated kind of version of the Rolling Stones' Paint of Black. It suits Destiny's Beyond Light core theme because it embraced the power offered by the darkness quite nicely. So the main threat from the trailer is, sorry if I pronounced it wrong, Ermias, a fallen Kel previously incarcerated in the Prison of Elders is looking to harness the dark power of stasis, which is basically ice magic, in a sense, which you can imagine would be a problem for Guardians who rely on the power of the light. The job is then to take control of the power themselves, go beyond light, so to speak, before Ermius is able to turn it against you. So that can be fascinating to see. But key note is I don't know if Solar can go against the stasis, like melt it. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. Destiny Beyond Light comes out November 10th. Next up, and finally, we have the NVIDIA RTX 3070. Ahead of the NVIDIA RTX 3070 launch today, online retailer Newegg has outlined some stats, tips, and honest truths regarding the release to the hotly anticipated RTX graphics card. So listen up if you're, ready to pick up the card today, as it sounds it could be as much as a scramble as the RTX 3080 and the RTX 3090 launches were. Newegg confirms that it batted away tens of millions of bots during the RTX 3080 launch alone, and expects the same quantity of bots, if not more, if the RTX 3070 launch, which we're convinced that the most in-demand GPU of the lot. To keep the bots and resellers away, the RTX 3070, the retailer, is limiting sales one per customer per 48 hours. So I guess if you want two of them, we just have to wait 2 days. But the likelihood of that's happening, it's really low, because they'll probably be sold out before you can. Which is the rule seen employed across various retailers in previous launches. It's also promising to chase down resellers once reported, so that they don't shy away from reporting those who spot using Newegg screenshots. So, fingers crossed, doesn't come up to the chaos the RTX 3080 and 90, PlayStation 5, Xbox One all faced. Fingers crossed. Well, that does it for today's episode. Always check out for every Friday. And starting last week, I think that's when I started, my podcast will now be sponsored and ran by Anchor. It's a podcast service that it can provide distribution through all across all the podcast sources. So it is now available on Anchor, Spotify, Google, and I think there's a lot more, but I'll give you guys a list on the description below.